Can you be a star in the NBA without a jump shot? This is a question that I posed earlier in the summer about Amen Thompson, and now we're almost 4 months into his second season in the NBA. The Rockets are the number 2 seed in an extremely competitive Western Conference, and Amen Thompson is proving that not only is he one of Houston's best and most important players, but he's also proving that his lack of a jump shot isn't something that's going to keep him off the floor. Over the course of his last 10 games, he's averaging 16.1 points, 10.8 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 2.2 steals, and a block per game, and he's recording a true shooting percentage of 60.6%. Whenever we're talking about whether or not a guy needs a jump shot, if you're only good at one thing, then yeah, you probably need to also be able to shoot. Or if the one thing that you're good at is shooting, then you need to be great at it. You can't just be a specialist in today's NBA, I don't think. I think we're kind of phasing out of that era where a specialist can't just be a specialist. And I think that also goes for when you're talking about guys like the Thompson twins. The fact that they don't have jump shots yet would probably be a bigger deal if the only thing they could do was play really good perimeter defense or get out and run in transition really well. When you're talking about Amen Thompson, you're talking about a guy who isn't just good at one thing or isn't just good at a few different things. He's really good at a lot of things. And there's a certain threshold that you have to meet as a player to kind of negate the fact that, yeah, defenses aren't going to guard you out to the perimeter or they're not going to close out on you as a shooter. And what I want to talk about is the things that Amen Thompson does to reach that threshold where the lack of a three-point shot is almost completely diminished because you're providing value in so many different areas. There's a few different buckets that I think you can put these non-shooting players into. You've got guys who don't shoot threes, but they can score around the rim very effectively. They might have a floater or a push shot or a hook shot that they can go to. Yeah, they're not going to be punishing teams for leaving them open on the three-point line, but they can still score when they need to. Then you have non-shooters that don't look to score at all. They are out there for one reason or another, but none of those reasons are scoring related. It's either they're just defenders or they're just passers, but chances are if they have the ball in their hands, they are not looking to score at all. And this is a very important distinction to make because just because Amen Thompson isn't a shooter doesn't mean that he's not a scorer. We talk about a guy like Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons, his big problem was, yeah, he was a good passer, and there were times where he was being an aggressive driver, and that could open up drive and kick opportunities. But when Ben Simmons would get into that passive headspace where he was no longer interested in scoring because he was worried about getting fouled and having to shoot free throws, or he was worried about having to take shots that were anything other than just layups or dunks at the rim, defenses recognized that and they really just stopped planning for the threat of his drives because they knew either A, we're going to foul him, or B, he's just going to kick it out anyways, so we're not going to send any extra help on these drives because why would we? So you look at a non-shooter like Amen Thompson who could potentially encounter those same issues. But the big difference is that Amen Thompson is just constantly aggressive. That switch never turns off over the course of an entire game. He is constantly on 110%, and defenses recognize that. And you can see it when he gets the ball in transition because he moves so ridiculously fast that the defense is terrified of him breaking past that front line of defense and getting to the rim for an uncontested layup or an uncontested dunk. So they're all keyed in on him, and that leaves whoever else is running the floor in transition typically wide open somewhere on the floor, and he's always going to make that pass to be sure to find them. The Rockets are in a 5-on-4 opportunity here, and Rozier's focused on stopping Amen Thompson on the drive, and Ware is conscious of potentially having to provide help if Thompson beats Rozier off the dribble. And knowing that Miami is operating without a fifth defender right now, he's going to pick his dribble up, he's going to make it look like he's sending that pass to Alperen Şengün, and once he gets the defense to key in on that, it's going to leave Cam Whitmore open near the dunker spot, and Thompson's going to connect with him so that he can rise for the finish. A lot of people seem to view Amen Thompson as more of a role player, this Swiss Army knife kind of guy who does a lot of the little stuff, but the reality is he's a lot more than just just a guy who does all of the little things. And there's a lot of evidence that lends to this idea that he can operate as a point guard due to those guard skills that he has, the ability to put the ball on the floor, the ability to drive in the pick and roll, and not only score for himself at the rim, but also create for others. This play does a good job of showcasing some of that with him and Steven Adams setting up to run this pick and roll. And because of the threat of Amen Thompson's drive, the Heat are going to show 2 on the ball as he starts to get into the paint, and from there he's able to feed Steven Adams for the floater. Thompson and Steven Adams are going to run this touch action, and because of the threat of Thompson as a driver, the Thunder are going to send that extra help off the strong side corner, and this just leaves an open shooter in the corner. And most of the time, teams don't really want their defenses helping off strong side corners, but that's something that Thompson sometimes forces you to do. He's already drawing so much defensive attention on his drives, despite the fact that he hasn't really established this reputation as a major scoring threat. So the fact that he's already able to make some of these reads out of the pick and roll and leverage that gravity that he has is really promising for the future, considering he should only trend upwards as a scoring threat out of drives. We look at scoring through such a perimeter-oriented lens. If you don't have a jump shot, then you're not going to be a scorer. It doesn't matter how good you are at scoring everywhere else other than the three-point line. If you can't shoot threes, then you're automatically written off. But I think that framework just doesn't really do a lot of players justice, especially Amen Thompson. His overall efficiency, his scoring contributions outside of that lackluster three-point shot, in my opinion, makes up for it. His true shooting percentage comes in at 60.8%, and he's attempting a meaningful 9 shots per game, and that includes 74% shooting at the rim. And one thing to keep an eye on is he's shooting 43% from short mid-range. Short mid-range is generally that floater area, and that's something that definitely stands out when you watch him play. Yeah, I'm not sure about the shooting touch. That's going to be a long-term project. We're going to have to wait and see what that looks like down the road. But this floater is something that not only does he look comfortable taking, but he's making it at a promising clip, even though it's not elite. 43% isn't necessarily high-level scoring impact from that range. It's likely that percentage will only trend upwards as he gets more reps, as he gets more comfortable, and as that touch and shot is developed further and further. Now I want to pivot over to talking about the defensive side of the ball. The baseline for him offensively is very good. Anything that he adds from this point going forward is just icing on the cake, but the defense is genuinely all NBA level. He's able to get his hands on everything on the defensive side of the ball. It doesn't matter where he is. It doesn't matter what he was supposed to be doing. He doesn't really end up making a ton of mistakes because he can go from one spot on the floor to the complete opposite side of the floor before you're even able to realize that he's coming. Here he's going to stick that arm out and poke the ball away from Jaren. Then he sees Dylan Brooks get beat after making a pretty aggressive closeout, and when Aldama tries to get this jump shot off late in the shot clock, he swats it out of bounds. He's not really actively involved on the strong side, instead being matched up against Alex Sarr near the weak side dunker spot, and as Kuzma starts to back down Jalen Green, it's going to collapse the defense, and notice Corey Kispert kind of setting this pin in on Brooks, trying to get the shooter open. Now, even though it doesn't look like Amen Thompson is involved in this defensively, once Kuzma looks like he's going to commit to making that pass out to the wing, Thompson comes up off of Sarr and he's going to block that pass, and it turns defense into offense. Again, he's over in the corner on the shooter here, and so as Ant drives, he's going to collapse the defense. He's got Şengün waiting near the restricted area, and then he's got Rudy Gobert on his right and Jaden McDaniels on his left. Once Ant gets that paint touch, he's going to try and maneuver to get an open pass to McDaniels in the dunker spot, with Şengün sliding more over to cover Gobert, but Thompson's going to recognize this, jumping the pass and disrupting the ball to force the turnover. Here he's in the corner. He's not involved in this initial pick and roll up top with LaMelo, and LaMelo's going to snake the defense after seeing Amen start to come off of the strong side corner to provide help. And even though this kind of looks like a mistake where Thompson's coming off of the corner, he's leaving his man open, the way that he stays glued to LaMelo and prevents him from really having the angle to make that pass makes it to where LaMelo has really no choice but to go up for the shot, and that's when Thompson's going to get the block. The Rockets have been one of the best defenses in the NBA, and a big part of it is because of Amen Thompson. And it's not a big surprise that he's top 10 in defensive estimated plus minus this year. And it's insane to think about the fact that him, Asar, and Victor Wembanyama are the only 3 players ranking top 10 in defensive EPM that are in their second season. Now, continuing in the same vein of talking about doing all of the little things, we can look at Amen Thompson's offensive rebounding ability as another one of those areas where it's not the flashiest thing in the world. It doesn't always get you on the highlight reels, but it's very important. And one thing that he does very well is when he grabs these offensive rebounds, not only is he always looking for the open man, but he seems to always understand where that open man is going to be the second that he gets that ball. It's no surprise that he's in the 85th percentile in offensive rebounding rate as more of a wing-oriented player. It just continues this theme of the unorthodox aspects of Amen Thompson's game. Now, when you take this ability to not only get offensive rebounds, but turn those offensive rebounds into second chance points, along with the ability to generate points off of turnovers, the ability to get out and run in transition, it generates a lot of easy offense, which is important for the Rockets because although they have been a good offensive team this year, they don't have the best half-court offense in the world. At the time of this recording, they rank 25th in half-court offense with 93.1 points scored per 100 half-court plays, but they have the 10th best offense in the NBA at the time of this recording with 113.9 points scored per 100 possessions. And what this says to me is that what they're currently lacking in the ability to score in the half court, they're making up for it with their ability to score in transition, score on second chance points, and create more second chance opportunities, as well as scoring off of turnovers. I think this affords Thompson to have a little bit more time to develop because even though offensively he's still got plenty of room to grow and he's got to continue developing before we see the fully realized version of everything that he can do, the things that he's good at right now complement what the Rockets are trying to do perfectly. Really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.